are there different styles of parenting? What I mean by that is, um, you guys have like this a similar background from like in your own personal households growing up that allowed you guys to kind of work well together, or is there so many differences that you guys have to navigate those kind of waters when dealing with your kid?
So with parenting, there is a different style, different approach between Trania and I because we were both raised different. Trania was raised with her mother, and it was her and her mother, you
Okay.
know, growing up. And a lot of Trinia's family are like cousins and aunts and uncles that she's technically not blood related to, but
Okay.
the friendship bond is so strong that it transcended the
Yeah.
simple word friends.
Yeah.
Whereas to, as I've
That was
said, I come
exactly.
from, yeah, so I said, I come from a very big, diverse family. You've met my
I
stepfather,
have.
Davis, Mexican American. You met my stepmother, Elena. She's white. And you met my Chinese uncle that's married to my aunt. So it's like, we just have a huge, I just come from the polar opposites. So with those backgrounds, it's one of those things where you have one side that's used to, okay, it's me and you against the world. And then you have the other side that's, it takes a village.
Hey, what up, everybody? This is J-Ton Gunter, owner of Grapes and Sand Publishing, and we have another episode of Drinking with Dads. Yeah. This is a show where I give fathers their flowers.
Hey, what up, everybody? J-Ton Gunter here, owner of Grapes and Sound Publishing. And yes, we're here for another episode of Drinking with Dads. I have a wonderful dad here, and I'm going to get into him in a second. But just so you know the premise of this show, because this is the first season, premise of this show is to give fathers their flowers. I realize that a lot of times we get overlooked. And the thing is, it's to be understood. Like, mothers are the ones who everyone, understands that they run the household and they are the backbone of the house. But fathers do more than just provide and protect. And so with that being said, I wanted to set up this platform to give fathers that I know are amazing fathers their flowers. And the father that I have today is my boy Diorn Moss. We go back over 20 years. He is one of my best friends, my writing partner, my dog, my go-to teacher. This is my guy, Diorn Moss. Say what's up to everybody real quick, Diorn.
What's up, peeps? 20
So,
years.
20 years,
Wow.
bro. We've been rocking since Hoover Hall.
Wow. Hoover Hall. I remember that.
This is my writing partner for real, guys. Y'all don't understand.
Yeah. We spent so many nights staying up, writing, working on stuff and writing our material.
Yeah, real talk. Real talk.
Wow.
This guy would come over. So I was a clubber. He wasn't the one that went out in club. But I'd be the one. He'd be up already late writing, and I'd be home like right around 1 o'clock. And hit him up like, "What you doing, bro?" So I'm writing. I was like, "Why don't you come over here? I'm about to start writing." And I'd write from like 1 to like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. We'd be in there just rocking on. So this is my guy for real. Just so you know, I always give fathers I allow them to be able to pick what we're drinking today. He wanted to drink Coca-Cola, so as you can see, we have our Coca-Cola. Cheers, Diorn.
Cheers.
Now, with that being said, enough with the pleasantries. Let's get into the
okay. All right. Okay.
The first question I have for you, my brother, is what was the last gift you had for Father's Day that you can remember?
That is an easy one. My son had bought me this mug that was like Batman, but the whole like superhero, because I love Batman. And this whole thing is like, yeah, some people don't believe in heroes, but they haven't met my dad. And
that's awesome.
To me, that's become like my drinking cup when I'm drinking coffee and reading. And I think the reason why it meant so much to me, because there was a period in time where, in a real conversation when Caleb was younger, that he had with my wife Trania, where he was worried about me. And he was like, I think Dad's depressed. And that was during the time where I was going through a really low period and a lot of stuff was just weighing on me. And I remember hearing what he said and how he worried about me, how he loved me, but he was just real concerned. And I remember that woke something up in me where it was like, listen, I don't want for me being the best example for my son as a father. I don't want for him to think that, oh, my father was depressed or my father was this and that. I need to make a change so that I can be a better example for him. So to go from that to, oh yeah, nah, my dad's my hero, and I love hanging around with my dad, and my dad is great and everything. That's why that gift just really stands out to me.
No, that makes
Yes.
all the sense to me. That makes all the sense. That's really sweet that he was able to call it too. You know what I mean? Like you gotta. So for our generation, I feel like we weren't as close to our fathers like that. That right there shows that there's been a little bit of a shift in your household, at least, where he can
Mm-hmm.
already pick up on the signals that pops is not in his normal phase right now. That's really dope, man. Because I know I could never have picked that up from my pops when I
No,
was.
because the way our fathers, I wouldn't say hid it, but the way our fathers present themselves, you thought that they were made of stone. And it's not
Yeah.
until you get older that you realize, no, they wasn't made of stone. They were just carrying the weight of the world with them. And they were just trying to go through it, get through it, and be the best individual they can be with everything going on. And, that was the thing. And plus, just as males, we're taught not to express our emotions, not to be emotionally healthy.
Exactly.
And there is something that get lost in that. So, we've always encouraged Caleb to express his opinion. We'll check him if he get out of bounds.
I know you and T both. Yeah, I
Oh
know.
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. But we want to create a space where he feels like he can talk to us about stuff, because one of the things about being a parent is there's so much stuff out there that what literally scares the crap out of me is that something could happen to my son and I didn't even know it because he kept it hidden, and he kept it on in chat rooms, and he kept it in text messages, and he never expressed it to myself or to my wife. So we try and keep it open.
I love that. I love that. And by the way, audience, I know a lot of these answers to these questions, but I got to ask you because I want you guys to get to know Diorn a little bit. Before you guys had kids, did you always know you wanted to have a kid? Was this
Not
like something
really.
in the card for you?
Like, I thought about it, but if I was being honest, I thought I was too selfish and self-centered to be a good father. Like, I was ambitious. I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a great writer. I wanted to do all this and that. And I knew that in order to be a good father, you would have to sacrifice that. And you would have to put fatherhood and raising this child above all that. And when I was honest, I thought about, oh yeah, I have kids, but deep down, it was like, okay, if I didn't, would that be the end of the world? No, it wouldn't. So it was one of those things where when Trania and I talked about kids, it was like, okay, if it happens, then it happens. And then one night it happened, and she tested and was like, oh my God. It was right after a Christmas party when I was teaching. And it's so funny because this last Christmas, our family gets together and goes see a movie for Christmas. That's always our tradition. And we went to see Avatar. And Caleb was like, I don't fool with Avatar. Those guys are built like Shaq with weapons and everything. That's just not me. And I'm like, you have to go and see it. Why? He was like, why? I'm like, because you were a fetus when the first one came out. So, because the next day after we found out that we're having a kid, we went and saw the Avatar movie. So I'm like, this is kind of a full circle moment. So you're going to take your little ass in the movie theater and sit there.
Let me ask you this: with you and Trania, so this is your wife. I just want everybody to know that you're still with your
Trania,
wife.
yes.
Okay. So you guys.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, great. I have to clarify that because like a lot of fathers, a lot of husbands. There's not a lot of husbands and wives out there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of
no, it's not.
co-parenting going on, different households and stuff. So I got to clarify so people understand your trail, what's going on with you. Because you guys live together, you guys are married and have your kid. Are there different styles of parenting? What I mean by that is, you guys have like a similar background from like in your own personal households growing up that allows you guys to kind of work well together, or is there so many differences that you guys have to navigate those kind of waters when dealing with your kid?
So with parenting, there is a different style, different approach between Trania and I, because we were both raised different. Trania was raised with her mother, and it was her and her mother. growing up. And a lot of Trinia's family are like cousins and aunts and uncles that she's technically not blood related to, but
Okay.
the friendship bond is so strong that it transcended the
Yeah.
simple word friends.
Yeah.
Whereas, to as I've said,
Chosen
I come
family.
from, yeah, so I said, I come from a very big, diverse family. You've met my
I
stepfather
know.
Davis, Mexican American. You met my stepmother Elena, she's white. And you met my Chinese uncle that's married to my aunt. So it's like we just have a huge, I just come from the polar opposites. So with those backgrounds, it's one of those things where you have one side that's used to, okay, it's me and you against the world. And then you have the other side that's it takes a village. So it's us navigating together, balancing it so that Kev can get what he needs as far as his development. But in truth, we were talking about our fathers and Father's Days and we don't often get our flowers. And that's because really what the child gets from the mother is a lesson in love and how to love unconditionally and how to love fiercely. Whereas for me, my role is your character and how
Yeah.
you move through this life and
Yep.
how when you say you're going to do something, you got to be a man of your word and what are the consequences when you're not, you
Yep.
know, and that's what give. And that's not the sexiest thing to give, but it is just as valuable as teaching someone how to love is how to carry yourself.
Stay tuned. Drinking with Dads will be right back. I just created a show called Drinking with Dads, and I'm a wine dad, like a regular dad, but aged. To pick up your own V-neck, go to the link in my bio or fruitandglassgear.etsy.com. Cheers. Now back to the show.
So that gets into my next question, and that's actually a perfect segue. I'm gonna talk
You
about
like
roles.
that? I'm pretty good at this.
You're pretty good at this. I can tell. It's like you've been studying or something. um, let's talk about roles in as far as raising the kid, right? Normally, there's like a nurturer, and there's one that's more a disciplinary. Or in the new age households, you're both. So is it more traditional where one is like more on the discipline side and one is on the nurturing side, or is it like you guys both carry nice little cards and discipline in that little boy?
Oh, well, Trinia disciplines what it is, but Trinia is the first one to think it's traditional. Trinia is the first one to think my baby didn't do it. And I'm sitting back, I'm like, okay, I know you know your son. And it's like, no, stop being an ass. He didn't do it. I'm like, okay, wait till this all shakes out, and then we're gonna see. So it's traditional, and at the same time, it's very competitive. And that is the whole thing with the father with the discipline, because you're as a black man, I'm raising a black boy, and I'm
Yeah,
trying to teach him how to be a man. I'm
yeah,
trying to teach him how to navigate through a world where if he gets stopped by the police, it could be fatal.
hell yeah,
And, you know, and at the same time, if he's interacting with a young lady or interacting with someone of the opposite sex, or in this day and age, same sex, what have you, it could also lead to accusations being thrown that are
yeah.
unfounded. So
Mm-hmm.
all that you factor in, and the scariness of it, where it's like, okay, I have to make sure that I'm imparting to my son the tools that he needs for when I'm not around. Now, the way we raise Caleb, and that we're both on the same page, we know that Caleb is an only child. So we know more than likely there's going to come a point in his life where neither one of us is here.
Gotcha.
And that's a sobering thing. But we
Oof,
realize that we have to make sure that when that happens, he doesn't fall apart,
gotcha.
and that he continues to soldier on and take what he's been taught, and he builds his own family or builds his own life in his own community. So that's the one thing where we're on the same page. When it comes to discipline and everything, yeah, it's traditional. Kev could do no wrong in his mother's eyes
Ah,
until he's made a fool out of her
and then it's
by
over. Don't embarrass her, right? Don't you embarrass the boy.
and me, I'm not a gracious winner. I'll be the same one. I told you so. All the vitriol that I received only to be proven right.
You be sitting there with your little teacup like this.
Mm-hmm. And part of it is because he has a mixture of our personalities. He's
Yeah,
like he's pretty sharp and pretty funny with it.
of
Like
course.
we got a call from his vice principal. He was like, listen, Caleb is a great kid. There's nothing really wrong, but he used the inappropriate word, and there were witnesses, and we just wanted to talk about it. And all of a sudden, I hear Caleb in the background. Well, you say there's witnesses. How were those witness statements vetted? Who asked how were their statements vetted? And if they, and if that's credible witness, and then only for the vice principal. Well, it was the dean of disciplinary. I don't know. I don't know if she heard what you're claiming she heard.
Always a lawyer already, man.
Yeah, he really does, and he does have this sense of right and wrong. Like I remember one Thanksgiving, he and I sat and he watched Aaron Sorkin's The Trial of Chicago 7 multiple times, and he just loved it. And he really loves when he's watching lawyers, especially cases where lawyers just get up and be like, okay, you know you just screwed up, right? And I'm about to just destroy you. So yeah, he may go down that path. Who knows?
You never know. So this goes back to the early days. You know, when you found out that you guys were going to have your son, leading up to it, do you feel like you guys were on the same page and everything was like, as far as, do you think you had everything together, mentally, financially, everything? Were you already like, we're gonna roll into this, and this first year is gonna be a breeze, or was there like pitfalls everywhere the first year?
Hell no, we didn't have it all together. We didn't. We were shocked. Like, and it's interesting because at the time, I didn't even have good healthcare coverage. So it was one of those things where I remember us getting on we didn't have a car. So I remember us getting on the Blue Line, going from Long Beach all the way to Hollywood and walking along the Hollywood streets, walking past Zorro and Iron Man and all them to go to a free health clinic to get prenatal vitamins and get the stuff they need. So no, we were not prepared for it. But the thing was, we were like, okay, he must be meant to come here because, side note, right before Trania found out she was pregnant, Trania had went to bachelorette parties, and you can already imagine what happened there. We had went to amusement parks and everything. So the fact that this baby was still around, kicking, heart beating strong, I'm like, okay, he is meant to come into this world. So we just gonna have to band together and raise this child and figure it all out.
I'll fill you in on why I think the same thing was meant for this kid, our kid, because I'm not gonna say it on camera, but I'll tell you that, like, that boy, there was no way he was gonna come, and he just punched through everying. It was like,
yeah.
And I was like, okay,
yeah,
you need to be here.
Yeah, because when they told us how far along Trania was, we were like, oh my God, because we all of a sudden it was like a movie where you like something out of The Hangover where your brain just puts together all the different things like, oh God, hopefully we didn't damage this child. And they're like, oh, heartbeat, everything. Yeah. And we're like, okay, well, evidently he was meant to come here.
What about him makes you very proud? And this could be related to, you know, if he likes sports, or if there's just something unique about the way his mind works, or, you know, a characteristic, something about him that you look at your son and you're like, I am so proud that he's like this. You know what I mean? Like, is there one thing that you could pinpoint?
Stay tuned. Drinking with Dads will be right back.
I'm the author of the Man Book. The Man Book was created so that every man has a chance to become great. If you look at the stats, men that grew up without a father have a harder chance trying to become great because of their father's choices and their father's choices. The Man Book is here to break that cycle so that every man has that chance.
The Man Book, helping boys become men with something as simple as tying a tie. Also being a father, fashion, how to love. This is a book that you need on your shelf. It will help you, and it will help people that you love. Get it by going to dreamteamantioch.org. Cheers. Now back to the show.
there are two things that I've told him, and there with raising a kid, there's always a double-edged sword. The first thing about Caleb, he's not a follower.
I love that.
And I'm talking about it doesn't matter if 20 people are like, we're getting ready to go do this. If he thinks something is stupid,
Yeah,
he's going in the opposite direction, and that's it.
I love
There's only been in all the years that he's been in school, there's only been one time where I heard about Caleb doing something with another group of kids. Usually, if he did it, it was by himself, and that was he was going to Boys and Girls Club, and him and some boys decided to do an Ocean's 11 and raid the snack closet. Other than that,
snacks were involved, bro. Like,
yeah. Other than that, exactly. That was the one time where he was like, "Okay, your interest and my interest in line. Let's get together." Other than that, no, he's not a follower, so he's not influenced. So I don't have to worry about peer pressure from him. The other thing is he has a very brilliant analytical mind. Like he and I, our thing is we have movie nights, and he loves Alfred Hitchcock movies.
I love that.
He loves 80s movies, and he understands what's going on, and he can offer different thoughts and insights and be able to break down. And I just think, yeah, he has a really brilliant mind. So those are the two things that I'm very proud of him. So
that is dope. I actually really like that. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with Emil, man. Like Emil is, I mean, I've seen flashes of things. Me and him I try to, exactly what you were saying about, like, the way he shows up in society. I'm already starting on that. I really want him to, like, I want his creative side to be out there. So we have our jazz mornings. Every morning we get up. After I fed him, we'll go sit on the patio and we'll sit there and listen to jazz. I have a journal that I write in every morning and stuff like that. So we do that. We go to the gym together, and he like listens to music the whole way there. Like really like cool, like good music, like not anything crazy. I really want him to, and we have like these little things that we put in his crib where he like these little keyboards and stuff, so he can play like whatever he wants to play, instruments and stuff like that. Because I really want him to be creative. Of course, you want that analytical side too, but I also want the creative side to be like kind of a balance there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think the thing that you're going to really get a kick out of, you and EJ, is you're going to see parts of you, you're going to see parts of her, but then you're going to see some, you're like, oh, that's all him. And that's the part that you're going to trip off of when you're like, oh, wow, this is his own thing that he has, his own space.
I like that. Give me one funny situation your son has put you in. And it could be anything. It could be like he and sometime when he was younger. It could be anything.
Oh my goodness! So he's always been like a little jokester. So there was one time where he was still in diapers, and I went to visit my grandmother, and all of a sudden, he's walking and everything, and you're raising a kid, so you think you've done something, but you didn't.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, he probably needs to have his diaper changed, right? He had pulled off his diaper and he was going complete commando. So when I reached and touched his butt and saw that there was nothing there, I looked him in the face and he looked at me and he just started laughing his ass off. Like, I got you. I got you.
Yo, this kid is a character. That's a comedian right there, bro.
But the other funny thing that happened was he was still young. You know how you got the like little strollers for the kids to help them walk?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had like a stroller, and he had made him a sandwich. And he was so excited that he grabbed the sandwich. He was like, ha! And he took off running and tripped, and the sandwich just fell to the floor. It was like epic failure. And I watched him all of a sudden get up and start hitting and kicking the stroller next to him. He had a full-on fit that his sandwich. Yeah, he had a meltdown. And I thought, that is beyond funny. So yeah.
Like, that is not me.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because I know that with us, with any man, you need something that's just for you. do you have any kind of way that you're able to get a release out, whether it's, and it has to be something that doesn't concern your wife or anybody else, just something for you that you love to do? Is there anything in your life that is like, this is for me to kind of, for myself to put a smile on my face? You know what I mean?
I go for a walk Sunday morning,
I
and
like
I
that.
look forward to it. I get a walk. I put on podcasts. Usually, I'm listening to some screenwriting podcasts, or I have a Audible on my book. I may be listening to a book, but I'll walk through downtown because we live in Burbank. So I'll walk through downtown Burbank in the morning on Sunday, and I love it. And my family knows that that's my thing. So there's no, oh, let me tag along with you or anything of that nature. It's like, no, this is his thing that he does. And I've been doing that for years. And yeah, that's just my thing. And it's very therapeutic. It's very spiritual to me, doing it on a Sunday morning before service and everything. And it's something I look forward to. And it's funny because, downtown Burbank, there's a Starbucks that I'll stop at. And usually I'll see people out there writing, talking with them, see people out there reading, talking with them. And, I'll sit for a minute, drink a little bit of my coffee, and then walk home. And that 90 minutes is like, it's just,
Yeah.
I just enjoy it.
I know what you mean. I do the same thing right now with Friday nights. Because I'm home at home every day with him. So I don't really have a lot of time. Even when she gets off, she has to do pumping for milk, and then
Yeah.
and then they're in bed by about 9 o'clock, and so we don't really, it's not a lot. I'm with him most of the day, even when she gets home, and so because of that, Friday night she was like, you know what, I understand that you need some time to yourself, so I get Friday nights to do whatever I want. So she'll get home,
that's good.
she'll pump, and then I'll take off. And what I've been doing is going to the cigar spot and editing. I write or I'm editing there, and I should be just, everybody says you shouldn't be working on your time off, but this is stuff I love to do. And so I'm sitting there I'm in there for like three and a half hours just editing and writing, and I got my music playing, and I'm not even paying attention to nobody. I got my cigar, and I'm good. So I look forward to it every Friday, man. I really do. It's like
you need that. You need that because you have to have time for yourself, for self-reflection.
Yeah.
And to really, especially when you're trying to maintain providing for a family, raising a child, being with a father or being a husband or a partner, you need time for yourself to think, reflect, ask yourself questions, to release, to do something that you enjoy, so that you don't feel like you're just this, this robot going through the motions. So even if you're doing writing, which is something that I do sometimes Friday nights as well, it's important. And it helps you come back to your family, recharge.
Yeah. I write every day. I do that every single night. I'm writing, editing every night. But that time where I don't have to worry about any kind of distraction. Because even late at night when they're asleep or their sleep, she may wake up in the middle of the night and she needs to get her rest. So I have to go grab him, and that's an interruption. That's if you're in the middle of like breaking down a character, and you have your train of thought going, all of a sudden you get distracted. It's hard to get back to that sometimes. You know what I mean? So that Friday night is the one time where I know I have no distractions. She's not going to call me for anything, and I can get a lot of stuff done in about 3 hours. I get a lot of stuff done. So that's something I've been enjoying. Do you have any kind of tribe out there? Like, do you have like a group of guys, maybe a group chat that you guys are all fathers, and you're able to tap in with each other, be like, yo, this is what's going on. Has anybody been through this before or anything like that? Because I was talking to my dad. I was talking to my friend who does have a tribe, but that was also when I interviewed my pops. I got to interview my dad, which was crazy.
Cool.
Yeah. You know how my dad is.
Yeah, Mr. Gunter, yeah.
Mr. Gunter. I interviewed him, and he said he does not have a tribe, nor does he want a tribe. He had his reasons why, but I was just curious, do you have a tribe for yourself down there, or is it just something that's not your thing?
Stay tuned. Drinking with Dads will be right back. I just released a new show called Drinking with Dads, And this is a platform where I give fathers their flowers. I have some merch to back that up. So if you have a wonderful father in your life, or you're looking for some cool father gear for yourself, go to my online store, fruitandglassgear.etsy.com, and check out what we got there. Cheers. Now back to the show.
It's not a tribe. I have my friends. I have you guys that I've been friends with for over 20 something years. And I have some of my other friends who, are fathers that they're going through their own challenges that interact with. So it's not a group chatter thing. It's just that I'm fortunate that all my close friends, with the exception of one, is a father and are in their child's life, and there's stuff we relate to. But even with my one friend that doesn't have a kid, he's an educator. He works at a school, so he understands a parenting in a role in that capacity as an educator. So, that's really what it is. I have people I can go to for advice and for thoughts, but I wouldn't say it's a tribe or it's like, group chat. It's just, yeah. And I have my father, I have my stepfather, I have my uncle as well, who I could talk to as well, get their advice and, filter it, because part of it also is that the world Caleb is growing in is vastly different than the world they grew up in.
Yeah,
So,
definitely, definitely. And this is, again, I know all these answers, guys, but I gotta ask them. So your father's always been in your life. You and your father are always been like this, like this.
my father has been in my life. He and I have had periods of time where we hadn't spoken to each other or didn't get along. And, my father is a disciplinary person. He's a person of high standards, and he's a person that, okay, if you're going to be in my space, this is what's expected of you. So that a lot of times didn't always mesh. Plus, my mother and my father were never married, so it's a situation of co-parenting, which has its own challenges. And it was one of those things where there was times where, yeah, we wouldn't speak, but I always knew that I had a father. I always knew that if I picked up the phone, he would answer.
Gotcha.
So we always seemed to find our way back to each other and pick up where we left off. So very thankful and very grateful for that. But yeah, there were times where, it was challenging. Go through my adolescent period where I want to do something like get an earring or something like
Yeah.
that. And it's
I
like,
remember
oh,
that
absolutely. Oh yeah. And it's like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it's like, okay, but I'm living with my mom, so my mom's okay with it. Okay, well, you are living with your mom, so you can stay with your mom. But when you want to get some act right, then holla at me. So I mean, that was the thing. And that's one of those things where you understand it and you may not agree with it, but now you look at it and you're like, okay, so with this experience that I had with my father, let me take the good, let me take the lessons, and let me see what kind of relationship I can build with my son. Because you can't go back, you can't get those years back, you can't rewind. All you can do is move forward. So if there was something in the relationship that you felt like was missing or fractured or could have went differently, well, you being a father, you now have that opportunity to try and make amends in your relationship with your son, trying to see if maybe doing something different yields a different result.
So because you mentioned a lot of male figures growing up that you had, like you had your father, of course, but then you said your uncles and stuff like that. Was there any piece of advice that one of them gave you prior to having Caleb that you've been able to like take and be like, I needed this, and this is something I've just held on to since, for the whole time that Caleb's been alive? Is there's like one piece of advice that they told you that you're like, this is amazing advice, I'm going to take this with me? Any one of them?
Trying to think. It's a good question. So if I had to take a look at the advice that I've got that I could say, oh yeah, that was great advice, I would have to really be honest. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, I would have to say it wasn't advice, it was an example. and that's my stepfather, Dave. Now, you've met my stepfather. Of course, people out here don't. My stepfather is the most talkative person you ever met,
Cool
which
as hell.
which of course I'm being sarcastic. He does not really talk. A lot of times he sits and scowls.
Quiet.
But what I realized that he and my father demonstrated, my father has this saying where he says, love is an action word. So it's expressed through action. There's
Yeah.
people that can say, I love you, but their actions don't line up. And that's what he said. And what I saw my father and my stepfather model was the action of love. My
I love it.
stepfather getting up, working rotating shifts, working 60-hour weeks to be able to provide a roof for us. Didn't say a lot, didn't say, oh, hey, I love you or anything of that nature. He just got up and did it. Same thing with my father, working landscaping and working 12, 14-hour days so that, hey, you know, we can go to a Dodger game and actually have seats where we can see the Dodger players.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's
I would
cool.
have to say, when looking at it, the greatest thing was that love is an action word, and that it's not built in just saying it, but it's built in the actions that you take and seeing it demonstrated between my father and my stepfather.
That's dope. That's dope that both of them were able to cohabitate. Both of them just like, you know what, we both love this boy, you, and being able to be there for you and just show it instead of like, because, you know, even that generation doesn't really talk like that. You know, they don't really tell you they love you like that. It's mostly through action. That's my father and your father generation. Just did. My dad said it, but he said it. It was, of course, it was spaced out. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like every day, I love you, son, type of thing, which I don't know if I wanted that anyway, but you know.
Yeah, I got the, you know, I love you. But this is what I see that you could work on, improve on. There just was a different generation, but then it's what they were going through. But that's what it is, that love is an action verb. It's expressed in action. And it's like, you know, people can say that they love you, but how many people can you say that say love you if you was in a situation in the middle of the night and you were in a jam, you could call that person?
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
Not many.
That's absolutely real.
And that's, you know, that's what my dad said about my stepmother. He was like, I guarantee you, if you were stranded somewhere in the middle of the night, you could pick up the phone call and she would scramble and get you out of that situation. And he is absolutely right. And same thing with my mom. It's like love is expressed through action. On the flip side, I've seen a whole lot of people that say I love you, and if you needed them.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. We've talked about that numerous times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it goes back to, and as I said, I consider myself blessed because there's people who grow up with one parent, there's people who grow up orphans. I basically essentially grew up with four parents and four different perspectives.
I love that. I love that. Well, we're at the end, and I want to ask you, because I ask everybody this same question. I'm a new father. What piece of advice do you have for me with raising my son?
You have, your job as a father is the model to your son. You are your son's greatest teacher. It's the model to him how to live. And essentially at some point, when it's closing time, curtain call, how to die. So you have to keep that in mind. And one of the things you have to show him is humility. And when I say that, you know, we're from the generation where we like we said, we have the fathers that don't apologize if they make a mistake because of the pride and because they feel like in so many ways they may be diminished by saying, you know what, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. You have to be that example to say, you know what, made a mistake, son, should have did it this way. This is how you do it. Because that's going to be so much more helpful. You can say a whole lot, but what your son is going to really pay attention to, the actions that you take. You can say, treat women right, but if you're mistreating his mother, who you already know loves fiercely, then what you're saying doesn't carry any weight.
That's real.
So that would be my advice, is that your actions and everything that you're modeling in front of your son that's going to have the biggest impact.
I love it. I love it. Bro, I want to thank you so much for being on this show with me.
Oh, thank you.
I miss and love you. It's been a long time
Yeah,
since
same here.
we've been able to do this. And I talked to some of the guys. I said we need to get on a big Zoom and just all of us just kick it and catch up and talk some shit, like we used to.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely. But I want to cheers to you. Salute, brother. And
Salute.
guys, thank you for tapping in for this show. Hope you guys learned something. I know I did from an amazing father. And until next
Thank
time,
you.
cheers.
All right, cheers. God bless.